Hi, I'm Lisa Loxman. I'm the Director for the Division of Youth and 4-H at USDA National Institute of Food and Agriculture, 4-H National Headquarters.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Sarangelo, President and CEO of National 4-H Council.
We're really glad to have you join us here today. This is the first of a series of webinars from your National 4-H partners.
We are very excited about the purpose of this town hall today. It is a new way for us to engage with you, to share the projects that we are working on together at National 4-H Council and National 4-H Headquarters. Lisa and I are committed to working together to support 4-H professionals and volunteers as you reach young people with the life-changing work of the 4-H program. So we designed this today to be brief up front for us to share with you some updates from us, but we wanted most of this time to be available for us to hear from you and to learn what matters most in your 4-H world.
So one of the things we're going to do is make a commitment to you this year and also offer you a challenge, because one of the things that we need to have is a commitment from you to participate and be actively engaged with us this next year as we present these updates, to keep us on track and on the loop with what you want and desire for the 4-H system.
4-H has an exciting year ahead. But before we begin this town hall, we want to say thank you. Thank you so much for all you do every day to change and save lives through the 4-H program. We are so honored to be your national partners, and we want to share with you that we have a commitment to working together to support you in your work every day.
As a product of the 4-H system, I understand the way it can shape one's life. As someone who's worked at both the county and state levels, I understand the demands and the rewards of an extension professional. And as a national partner, I understand the need to provide for the fidelity and the integrity of the 4-H program so that you can maintain the best to make the best better and to also steward the 4-H name and emblem. Research is an important component of the 4-H youth development program, hence the relationships with the land-grant universities. And on one critical component of positive youth development is how 4-H frames the research that's conducted. We have several research projects that have been conducted through the years, but most substantially has been the research that has been done in partnership with 4-H Council.
In December, we were so pleased to publish a comprehensive final report on the 10-year longitudinal study, the study of 4-H positive youth development, that we've been doing together with Dr. Richard Lerner at Tufts University. So let me share the bottom line up front. 4-H youth excel beyond their peers. That's what the report tells us. Young people in 4-H are 4 times more likely to give back to their communities, 2 times more likely to make healthier choices, 2 times more likely to be civically engaged, and nearly 2 times more likely to be engaged in science in out-of-school time. Those are tremendous results that your universities have been helping contribute to in this amazing 10-year study. We're very pleased that you can begin to use this today to make your case for support and for engagement with volunteers and families, elected officials, university officials, and donors in your community. You can find all the resources online at 4h.org. You'll find the comprehensive final report and a shorter fact sheet. So we hope that that helps you in your work to tell the 4-H story.
Program quality and accountability is important to telling the 4-H story and really truly being able to get at those common outcomes. It's been critically important in the 4-H system to figure out what those common measures are. And folks have heard about common measures, but the Children, Youth, and Families at Risk program has been one of those pilot demonstration grant-funded projects that have begun to pull together common measures with validity and reliability tests involved with those surveys. So the system has responded to be able to tell the 4-H story in positive youth development, healthy living, citizenship, and science as some of the critical areas for common measures across the nation. In addition, there will be a group convened this spring that will be working on career workforce readiness.
We want to thank the 35 land-grant university partners who have been an early part of the first pilots of common measures, and we're just thrilled that every land-grant university has created a representative in their state to be the liaison for all 4-H professionals to connect to Common Measures. This Common Measures program allows us to have a competitive edge when we're telling our story about impact to investors and our university partners and all of those stakeholders at the local level. We're so excited for you to be able to use this resource. So we hope you'll contact your state office and find out how you can connect it to your program. And you can also find information on 4-H.org where you can find the measures themselves and incorporate them into your daily work. We know that to impact young people's lives, it takes trained professionals and volunteers like you, and it takes resources. So that's why we're committed to ensuring that we do all we can to bring as many resources as possible to your local 4-H programs. At National 4-H Council, we have the privilege every day of representing cooperative extension and 4-H with America's top brands. We're so pleased to tell you that they see 4-H as a very smart investment. That includes companies like Tractor Supply, like ConAgra, Disney, AARP, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and many others. The reason they invest in 4-H is because the confidence they have in you and the programs you deliver and the outcomes that are a result of all of the research-based programs that you apply at the local level.
Well, we certainly appreciate the investment by our National 4-H partner with the private nonprofit sector. But what we also need to keep in mind is there's the public investment that comes from the governmental funds at the federal level, the state level, the local level. And in those entities, what's estimated by what we receive as self-reported data is close to $800 million. But let's talk specifics about what Smith-Lever funding, which is through the extension system, approximately 17%, or $47 million, are attributed to the 4-H Youth Development Program. And in that, then there are additional about $5 million for a total of $52 million that are attributed to federal dollar support for positive youth development. And you all make that happen with the work that you do. But high-quality positive youth development for the 4-H Youth Development Program also has some program accountability on a national level. That's a public investment. And that investment has included youth protection guidelines, name and emblem guidelines, and as well as event checklist guidelines to provide for the program accountability and stewardship of the 4-H name and emblem. At the most recent 4-H National Mentoring Project grantees, Jennifer and I had a chance to address the audience, the grantees and others, about the success of this public-private partnership. This is just a great example of how we work together as your national partners. The CYFAR projects, or Children, Youth, and Families at Risk projects, are pilot demonstration projects. Some of them have gone on to become programs of distinction. Those programs have included the 4-H Life, the Youth and Families of Promise, and Tech Wizards, which many of you are familiar with, having heard about the 4-H National Mentoring Projects. Those projects then were taken, replicable and scalable, with the OJJDP funds. At a most recent Federal Coordinating Council meeting, as I addressed the crowd, I mentioned to them that the uniqueness about the equation that was presented for positive youth development was positive relationships, positive experiences, and positive risk-taking, as well as the opportunity for positive learning strategies. So those things resonate with the 4-H program so much that it's really important for you guys to see how we work together as your national partners to take projects together and make them go beyond what they have been.
This is one of the examples Lisa and I love to talk about because it's such a great example of how we've worked together as your public and private partners. After CYFAR invested in these 3 programs and the 3 land-grant universities had 10 years of research data on their efficacy and the impacts on young people. Those were the universities. Tech Wizards is from Oregon State University. Youth and Families with Promise is from Utah State University. And 4-H Life is University of Missouri's Cooperative Extension Program. And so with that foundation from CYFAR and their distinction in the programs of distinction, we were able then to showcase them to the Department of Justice's Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention to share them as 4-H's National Mentoring Program as a package. And many of you know that that has translated into $26 million new dollars for 4-H over the last 4 years. Lisa talked about the mentoring training that we just hosted here last month during National Mentoring Month. And we were so pleased to celebrate the impact of so many land-grant universities. I think we had 46 here, and we're here for training in Washington, D.C., and learning how to apply all the lessons of those high-quality university-backed programs in the communities that are needed the most. And as I said, Lisa and I, we really love to talk about this program because we feel it's a true example of how having a public and private partner work together, we can create great impact for cooperative extension 4-H programs.
We want to thank you for participating today with us in our town hall. It gives you an opportunity to hear about some of the updates from your national partners. Please note that this is going to be an ongoing effort, and we look forward to the next town hall with you.
Before we begin our Q&A, I'd just like to remind you that the resources that Lisa and I have talked about today are available to you in the resource pod and also via many of the links included there. And you can always go to 4-H.org to find the other resources and links about the things we've talked about today. We'd also just love to ask for your participation in the short survey that will follow today's session. But now it's time to hear from you, and we look forward to our question and answer session.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Doug Swanson, National Program Leader with 4-H National Headquarters at USDA. And we're so happy to have so many of you with us this morning from all across the country on this live town hall meeting. Now we have the opportunity to ask questions directly of Lisa Luxman and Jennifer Sarangelo. So we encourage you to go in the upper left-hand corner where it says Q&A and click on that and enter some questions, and then we will get those to Lisa and Jennifer, and they will have a chance to respond over the remainder of our time together. We do have some questions that came in as you registered, which we were grateful for. And I'm going to start off with a question that is that both Lisa and Jennifer could respond to, and I'll start with Jennifer, and that is, what do you see as the future directions and plans for National 4-H Council and National 4-H Headquarters? You know, you can focus on Council.
Sure, great question. For Council, our mission is to increase investment and participation in your high-quality 4-H positive youth development programs. So those words, investment and participation, are important to us. So at National 4-H Council, we'll be focusing on continuing to increase the resources that we make available, financial resources, training resources, curriculum resources that we partner with you on. And we'll also be continuing to invest in resources around the 4-H brand, which we can talk more about if there's any questions about that. So I would say those are probably the biggest things. Doug, is that for the question that came in would be at Council, we're going to continue to raise the profile of the impact that's being developed and implemented every day by our 4-H professionals with bringing more resources to the table and investing in the brand. And that's what we'll be doing at Council in partnership with you and with Lisa.
And thanks, Jennifer. Great opportunity to also add to what 4-H National Headquarters sees as the role with Trends. And clearly one of the things that we're always keeping an eye out for as your federal partner are the trends and issues in program direction. And one thing that comes to mind is that underserved and underrepresented youth go by a variety of titles within the federal government. And one that's being used is opportunity youth. And so looking at that as a way to look at how 4-H can address the issues and concerns of youth of opportunity. And then another area and direction, of course, is always to ensure that program quality and accountability to maintain the fidelity and integrity of the 4-H program. And so looking at what that looks like from a methodological approach is important, and from a research approach. So those are some of the things. So I'll turn it back to you, Doug.
So you mentioned the word trends, Lisa, and I wanted to give both of you a chance to respond to that in a little more detail, because I think trends in the nonprofit world was one of the questions that was asked, but I think it's also important the trends from the federal government and any other partners we may have that affect youth development. So, Jennifer, do you want to talk a little bit about trends in the nonprofit world and how that maybe impacts 4-H and 4-H Council from your perspective, and then let Lisa follow up with trends in the government?
Yes, great. I would love to. So most of you, I think, all know that part of the biggest role we play at Council is helping to present 4-H nationally to investors and in the public realm. And some of the things we're seeing as we talk with investors at all levels of our work is a very keen interest in volunteerism. That volunteerism, I'm sure I don't need to share this with you, but that volunteerism being episodic, I think, is the word we use for short-term opportunities that can create big impact. That's a real interest. We also, I think most folks know, too, that Council's largest percentage of our investors, and this has been traditions over 80 years, have been corporate investors and donors, and they are very interested in how their employees can be volunteers. And so I know many states and counties are innovating in that area, and one of the things we're doing at Council is how we can get some of that best practice and bring it up, understand it, and share it. So that's a big trend, I would say, is volunteerism. The second trend I would also share, Doug, is the primacy of impact. Most of the donors that we talk with, and even the media, are most interested in the fact that 4-H can prove that what we do with young people works. And all of the research that's been done by land-grant universities and our cooperative extension professionals through the years, as well as the 4-H study of positive youth development with Tufts University, those are bedrocks for us that we can stand on as we raise dollars, as we talk about our public value, and as we present ourselves to media and in marketing realms. And I just want to share, Doug, that that's a trend we see, that primacy of impact. And what I'm excited about is that we are so well positioned to tell the 4-H story with those trends coming down the line.
Great, Jennifer. So with that in mind, Lisa, and a couple of the things you already mentioned on trends, what else would you have to share?
Well, one of the things working collaboratively with 4-H Council is a group that's working on common measures. And I know that that's of interest because, as Jennifer mentioned, the primacy of the proof in the pudding of what 4-H can do needs to be how do we then collect the data, analyze the data, and be able to tell that story in an ongoing fashion. There is a group that's been working on the Ready for Work, Ready for Life, and has looked at adding a common measure of career workforce preparedness. And so a team is gathering together right now at the 4-H Center that will be spending time to put together that measure. Those kinds of measures are important for that program quality and accountability that keeps telling the story. And by having the means and the mechanisms with our National 4-H partner, it's a great collaborative venture with you as our Extension Land Grant partners to continue to tell that story. And from a federal government perspective, that's one of the things that's very important, impacts and outcomes, and having data that can be given to those number crunchers who want to know exactly how we prove a return on investment. And that information is being done by you in the field as well from studies that Colorado State University, Jeff Goodwin's done, that is being shared. And so I think we have a lot of opportunity for program quality and accountability to be shared in that trend.
Thank you. Jennifer, we know that for our people throughout the system, in order to accomplish all these great goals that we have, that there needs to be funding, and we all know in our system that there's all types of funding resources. But one of the questions here was asked, what are some upcoming interesting RFPs or possible funding opportunities through council, and exactly how do I find them?
Thanks, Doug. Well, first I'll answer the second question first, and that is if you're on the town hall today, you should find in the link, in the pod with the links, you should be able to find the link to the council grant opportunities there. So they are always posted online on 4-h.org, so anytime you can go on and see what is live. Now, I can't specifically say, because I don't think it's good karma, shall we say, to lead ahead too much and make promises that haven't been made yet to 4-H. But I can tell you that the kinds of RFPs we're going to continue to see coming out from council will be in the areas of the mission mandates. And the highest interest from our investors is coming from the areas of science and workforce readiness, and second, in healthy living. And those are such areas of strength for all counties and states that we will continue to see grants in those areas to strengthen those mission mandates.
That's great, Jennifer. This brings to mind another question for you, Lisa, and Jennifer can add in if she wants to, but I'll start with you. Where are the mission mandates headed? Are we staying with healthy living, science, and citizenship, or what's kind of the focus currently?
Well, it's always good to have, Doug, some things that are core to the 4-H program. We have right now a study being conducted by Dr. Chris Bowman to look at the core content areas. And still coming out of that are things pertinent to the mission mandates. But that doesn't preclude that there aren't going to be trends and issues that pop up that bubble under those areas. And we know that they don't stand alone and aren't siloed, so I think there'll be some collective venture. But from a USDA NIFA perspective, we're a science agency, and many of the federal governmental agencies have a science mission focus. So science is going to be there, but keep in mind that science can be, as defined for the 4-H program, as the science of engagement, the science of learning, and the science of change. And with that becomes, what do we do within our content areas in those fields? But 4-H is still very much involved from a mission component for science with regards to, like, the upcoming, just announced, the White House is going to hold their first ever Makers Fair. And Jim Kaler, who is National Program Leader, is going to be involved and engaged with that. He's on the Federal Interagency Working Group. And 4-H is already ahead of the game because we're doing pilot projects to see how Maker Fair's activities work in 4-H clubs, after school, in-school camps, and museum partnerships. And as that's working out, we're going to make sure that then we can continue to see how a vision is created then from that science, where it's the maker part, the invention part, and the entrepreneurship part. And we are certainly definitely involved and engaged with our national partner in those ventures to ensure that that's still happening. And I'll turn it back to you, Doug.
Thanks, Lisa. Jennifer, do you have any comments on the mission mandates before we get into a specific question about the science one?
No, thanks, Doug.
Well, then we have a question that came in a little bit ago, and it says they understand that there's the Million New Scientists goal was met as part of the science mission mandate. And so the question was, will Council continue to seek donors for this mission mandate while also trying to launch other mission mandates with funding, I assume?
Yes, Doug, the answer to that question is yes. We will continue to do that. Science continues to be one of the most important priorities, as we know, for our economy. And it's extremely relevant for parents and families and for our donor partners. So it will continue to be one of our strengths, I believe, as we look in the marketplace. So the answer is yes, we will continue to do that. One other just note is that we are looking to, and we have been, increasing the number of folks we have on the council team to seek additional dollars. So while we'll continue to do the work we're doing in science and health and the other mission mandates, we will just continue to add on to that, and our goal is to certainly increase that. So no changes except for, we hope, more.
Great. we've got some questions about the Tufts study, and one of them is, will states be receiving something in the mail on the final report, or how will they access the final report for the Tufts study? And for if somebody may not understand what the Tufts study is, maybe just a sentence on what that is. Jennifer?
Thanks, Doug. Yes, I wanted to share that, appreciate that question very much. And the 4-H study of positive youth development is a 10-year longitudinal study that Council funded in conjunction with, led by Dr. Richard Lerner at Tufts University. And he partnered with over 20 of our land-grant university cooperative extension programs to initiate this research over 10 years. And so if you haven't heard about that, easily go on 4-h.org and look for our research tab. And you can find a copy, the latest copy of what is a final comprehensive report on the 10-year study. We just launched that in December, and there is a report as well as a fact sheet. The specific question that came in was whether we should download and print it now or whether we'll be getting copies in the mail. The question made me think we were not planning to send copies in the mail, so start downloading it now at your leisure. But if there's an interest, we would be very willing to consider professionally printing them and selling packs of them on the mall or something like that. So the question has got us thinking, and we'll look into the possibility of potentially printing them professionally and making them available on the 4-H mall.
Thank you, Jennifer. There's another question that's one of the things, and I'm going to ask this of Lisa. There is emphasis in the Tufts study that demonstrates the value of longer-term program involvement for young people. So how do we balance the trend of the episodic volunteer that might be, at least in our thinking currently, involved in short-term experiences? What do we do with that?
Well, Doug, it gets to that age-old question of duration and dosage. And one of the things that's not been clearly defined in research is the duration and dosage and involvement of volunteers. So there are some pilot efforts being done with 4-H Council and with you as a national program leader that I'm aware of. So I think we should, one, stay tuned, but also note that there's also a lot of comment being done under program quality and accountability with regards to the collective impact. And what we have to define is the collective impact of what the 4-H program has, whether it's a short-term and multiple short-term experiences or one collective long-term experience. And I think that leads to other research questions, and so stay tuned for more, but I think we're still in the process of defining the trends with regards to episodic volunteers.
Thanks, Lisa. I know this is the Q&A with Jennifer and Lisa, but I'm going to take just a second to plug something. Hey, I've got the phone, so they're smiling at me. Related to this episodic volunteerism thing, on March 20th and 27th, we're going to have an experience similar to this where we're looking at the pilot projects who worked with engaging episodic, diverse, and corporate volunteers, and we're going to be looking at new trends and how to implement that. So I encourage you to keep in our communications channels and rejoin us in March for an in-depth discussion about that. So, Lisa, one of the questions that has come up, commercial over, by the way, one of the questions that has come up is, what's the future of our 4-H military partnerships? There's some perception that funding might be more limited than it has been, or can you just address that?
One of the things that we can all say, hooray, is that the Farm Bill got signed, and it looks like we have a 2014 and a 2015 federal budget. That in and of itself will help shake out some of the answers with regarding the military partnership and programmatic efforts. So stay tuned on that one. It's not defined, but clearly one of the trends is as the troops come home, that there'll be different priorities placed in the Department of Defense, but we still see strong partnerships at the local level for military youth and their families.
Great. I'm going to shift gears just a little bit, and I'm going to go to Jennifer. And we know that one of the things that National 4-H Council does is a big emphasis nationally for marketing 4-H. And the question was, is there any specific upcoming plans for how we continue to market 4-H, especially from Council's perspective.
Yes, this is, I'm so glad the question has come up, and it is a major focus for National 4-H Council. I just want to share with all of our partners on the phone that building the brand for 4-H and helping tell our story in a relevant, contemporary way is of the highest priority to Council's Board of Trustees and to our senior staff. So I want you to know that we are investing in this in a significant way, and we know it's one of our major, I would say, opportunities for the future is for us to really tell the actual story of the impact that is done and made every day by the people here on the phone and all the volunteers in the field. So I just want to share the emphasis of that. Specifically, I want to share that just like all good brands, we are working on a next phase of our branding story for 4-H, and we'll likely have new things to share at our NAE 4-HA meeting in October in Minneapolis. And so our plans are to be able to share with you some new tools and resources then. I also just wanted to double back and make sure that everyone hears and understands that we have heard you over the years, and we know that the role that Council plays and the highest priority for us is to help increase investment in your programs so that you can grow to serve kids in new audiences, reach kids that you want to reach now. And so our marketing efforts are going to be targeted at that, at helping tell the story in a compelling way that drives investment. So that's the kinds of resources that we'll be developing, and you should be able to see some of this fall, and more to come on that.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Before we move on to the next question, there has been some questions about where can we find the Tough Study on 4H.org and things like that. And there's an About 4-H link from the menu at the top of the screen of 4H.org, and you select Research, and then it's drop-down menu from that. So I'll say that again real quickly. You go to 4H.org, and then there's an About 4-H link, and then you go to the Research link below that. Also, just as a reminder, I was going to remind you this earlier, there is a resource link on your screen today, which you want to find and get some resources that we've referred to throughout the day. The next question is a very specific question that Lisa is going to respond to, and there's some questions about the status of the 4-H engineering event.
I just want to reference that there is an event checklist that should be found in that resource link that Doug mentioned, and that at least within the last 2 years, there's been a National 4-H event task force chaired by Jonathan Despain from the University of Wyoming and respective others within the Land-Grant system who were partners. And so the national events has a process. There's an event checklist. And so any of those events that want to have a national designation will need to fill out an application and complete the checklist for multi-state, and then it's peer-reviewed for a national event checklist. So if anyone has any questions, please just make sure that you reference the event checklist. And you can find that information, like I said, in the resource link.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. I just want to remind you to keep asking questions. Your questions have been great. They're coming in, but we still have a little bit of time left, and I want you to keep asking the questions. It's going really well. One thing that was asked here is, and I'll start with Lisa and then see if Jennifer has anything to share, is there's some states that are just looking at adapting year-round K-12 schools, and some states that have been doing it for a while, but how do you envision 4-H being impacted or being able to help in that scenario of year-round schools?
Well, thanks, Doug. Actually, we had to deal with this within the 4-H Youth Development Program in the state of Arizona because with modified year-round schooling, what happened was there were pockets of windows of time, either in the summer or during the spring and fall. Many of the extension professionals there had to look at being creative with those week-long opportunities and did special interest programming, and others during the summer then had to really condense a lot of their 4-H programming. But we know that there are partners across the state who've dealt with this and have been very strategic in how they've applied that for their in-school delivery modes as well as best practices and model programs to replicate that could be taken to scale. So perhaps it's one of those things where we consider pulling together some of those to put together a task force to look at program delivery strategies.
Thank you. Jennifer, did you have any follow-up on that one?
No, thanks, Doug.
Okay. There is a question here. We'll start with Lisa and then see if Jennifer has anything. The question is, are there any opportunities coming up for professional development for mid-career people who may be looking at grooming our next state program leaders, foundation directors, those state-level leadership positions, professional development to help raise up those people to fill those roles?
Well, thanks, Doug. One of the things I was going to mention is that I had the opportunity to participate as a NIFA representative to LEAD 21, and that is one of the best opportunities that state land-grant participants, extension professionals at various levels had. And I would encourage you all to look into the opportunities with LEAD 21 at your state level. Now, more specifically for the 4-H Youth Development Program, I think that that's, again, one of those opportunities to strategize and really look at how do we prepare the field. But that should be something that we work in conjunction with our National Association Extension Partners, NAE4HA, with regards to professional development.
Very good.
Doug, this is Doug. Could I add to that, too, if you don't mind?
Absolutely. Wonderful.
Great. I agree totally with Lisa. LEAD 21 is amazing, and I hope a lot of our 4-H professionals get involved in that. But this is a high priority for extension directors, this question about how to develop the talent pipeline inside of extension. And so I just wanted to share that Lisa and I are also talking with the leaders of ECOP, which is the Extension Committee on Policy, which is the group of extension directors that are engaged in the leadership of the cooperative extension movement here in the U.S. And one of the things that Lisa and I are talking about with them is the future of the 4-H professional. They've recently done a survey, and some of the folks on the phone might have participated in that, and they gathered some data nationally about what they called the 21st century extension professional. And between that and some of the exciting things we've seen come out of the military program and the partnerships that are going on in North Carolina with the YES program, where it's they're looking at the future extension workers, I believe there's an opportunity for us to invest in a new way. Today, we right now do not have an investor for that, at least at National 4-H Council we don't, but it is on our radar as a high priority. And I do want to share that the board members on our board that serve either as extension directors, university presidents, or corporate leaders also understand this and are supporting us in seeking investment for a significant investment in our mid-career professionals. We understand that our 4-H program is strong when our 4-H professionals are strong. So I just wanted to address that, Doug, that Lisa and I, as we work with ECOP on the new 4-H committee, this will be one of the things we talk about a lot with them.
Great. So you've both touched on professional development, which is an important aspect of making our program strong. We also talked about how we're a unique organization and we have lots of great impacts. I would like both of you, but I'm going to start with Jennifer, to address how you see us as unique or different from other youth development organizations.
Well, Doug, this is like my favorite question because, you know, the last 8 years, I've had the pleasure of telling the 4-H story far and wide and trying to ensure that we increase investment in our program. So I love this question. And I believe 4-H is significantly different. While we have these sister organizations that are wonderful partners, and we couldn't do our work together in the community without them at the local level, whether it's the Boys and Girls Club, the two scouting organizations, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Parks and Rec, all those other partners that we have, school districts. 4-H is unique in that panoply of all the organizations investing in young people, most significantly because of our connection to our land-grant university system and cooperative extension. So I don't have to tell the people on the phone this, but you are the uniqueness that makes 4-H an organization that has impact beyond its peers, and that's because of your commitment to quality and evaluation and to research. So that is something that's very special about 4-H. We already know also that because of that and the unique combination of what we know are the big three, the caring, long-term relationship with the caring adult, the leadership skill building that happens in 4-H, and the meaningful leadership roles, that all of that combines into a young person in 4-H that excels beyond their peers. So we know that. The third thing that I would say really sets us apart is that we have a footprint as a national movement that is beyond compare. With cooperative extension offices in every county in America and on military bases, we are able to reach and give access to every young person really in the country. I know we could probably never accommodate all of them, but they all could get access to our program. And that universal access to what we do is also a unique, something very unique about us, and democratizes 4-H and makes it available to all kids, no matter their background or their circumstances. And that's a very important distinction of who we are.
So, Lisa, to build on that, from your perspective, why 4-H?
Well, you know, Doug, I bleed green, so I'll just have to say that would be an easy sell right there. On the other hand, the one thing that is so unique, because you're not going to find in any congressional code, any federal code or regulations, the word 4-H. I mean, you find it there. No one else will you find defined. And so that in and of itself, to have the 4-H name and emblem be articulated as such by Congress is unique. And that differentiates it as a federal youth development program. And I think that right there is one thing that does even more so, as Jennifer articulated, really all the other key points, the extension service land-grant research base, the reach in the communities, but then you have this tie to the federal government that's different and unique about 4-H. Thank you.
There is a question on here, Lisa, that I would be interested in the answer of too, and that is, do I work for 4-H National Headquarters or National 4-H Headquarters?
Oh, gee, Doug, that's a very interesting question, but here's what I would say is that 4-H National Headquarters is the title that we prefer to use because we want to differentiate between National 4-H Council, because clearly one thing that can be confusing for those of you in the field is just which is who and where do people work. We just want to let you know, though, we work collaboratively together under the title 4-H.
Very good. Jennifer, this question is for you, and one of the viewers, I guess I should say, says that Monsanto has refocused their funding away from volunteerism, and I know personally that that support in the partnership with Council and Monsanto has been wonderful for many years. So could you just address if there's other ways of funding volunteer training?
Sure, Doug. Yes, Monsanto continues to be a strong supporter of 4-H, I know, at many, many levels. And they are right now considering, what their future investments will look like. We have a some new investment from them that we'll begin to see flow out, I think, soon. But I just wanted to address that they continue to be a strong supporter of 4-H, so I don't want their change in direction, which happens from time to time for corporate partners. But your question about whether there will continue to be support for volunteers, I'll be very honest that seeking volunteer support for volunteer programs is something that's a high priority. As I mentioned, we realize at Council that, and I know Lisa too, that the volunteers are the backbone of how we impact young people, and that managing that process, ensuring the safety of the young people, and the viability and efficacy of our volunteers, and just that our volunteers grow as well through the process, is a high priority. So while Monsanto may be shifting and looking at some new other important investment in our mission mandates and other priorities, we will continue to seek funding for this very important lever of impact in 4-H, which is our volunteers. Those 500,000 volunteers are so important to all of us, and we know that. So I think we'll see probably some ways for states and counties to raise dollars and seek support for their own volunteer programs, and we'll probably see the same thing at the national level.
Thank you, Jennifer, for your comments. Lisa, I have a couple questions here for you, and we'll start off with, what's the status of programs of distinction right now?
Thanks, Doug, for that question. What I want to let folks know is that the Public-Private Partnership Working Group, which Jennifer and I both sit at the table with extension directors and state 4-H program leaders from the regions, Debbie McDonald from West Virginia is very actively involved in putting together a task force to address this. Broader questions that she's been addressing with Dr. Suzanne LaMenestrel, National Program Leader at 4-H National Headquarters, has been about program quality and accountability. So long story, that's the task force being put in place. Short story is Programs of Distinction was taken down because the website was being updated at NIFA. We're in the process of reactivating and finding a parked place for that website so the database for Programs of Distinction can still be put back up. So stay tuned for that information and you'll hear more. But just know that it's a bigger picture about looking about program quality and assurances for the system.
Very good. So the next question is, I'll start with you, Lisa, and then see if Jennifer has any response to this. It's a question about your two organizations' role and support with NE4HA.
Well, Doug, very near and dear to my heart, but also for those folks who are also at the JSEP meeting this week, I would just say that as a former National Association officer, past president, that NAE4HA is near and dear to us at 4-H National Headquarters and have members there in our office. What we would just like to say is that we can see building bridges and opportunities between both national partners in that opportunity. Probably need to do a little bit more strategy, but professional development is one that definitely comes to mind, as well as strengthening the program quality and accountability measures.
We've gotten so many great questions this morning, and this is such really a first opportunity to sit down in this virtual way and talk with Lisa and Jennifer. I hope that we've been able to address your questions. What I'm going to do right now, as the hour is closing quickly, I'm going to ask for just some closing comments from both Jennifer and Lisa, and we'll start off with Lisa. And then turn it over to Jennifer. And if any more questions come in and we have a couple minutes, we can do those even after closing comments.
Thanks, Doug. What we want to say from 4-H National Headquarters is thank you for the opportunity to work with you across the country in such an immense undertaking, which is providing positive youth development to youth and adults in your local communities. We recognize that from the office here that we counted up the number of years, and I think we had over 287 hours that were years that were contributed to the 4-H Youth Development Program and our context there. And so with that in mind, we just want to say that we're here to work with you as your national partner from 4-H Headquarters on the federal level, and we want to make sure that trends and issues continue to be driving the program direction, keeping 4-H on the cutting edge and relevant, and then also ensuring that program quality and accountability is undertaken.
Jennifer, how would you like to
Sure.
close up our comments?
Thanks so much, Doug. Like Lisa, I just want to thank you so much from the associates at National 4-H Council. We're so proud to run your National 4-H Center, the 4-H Mall, to lead the marketing efforts nationally, and to lead national fundraising efforts in partnership with all of you and with our partners at headquarters. So I just want to say a big thanks as well. Second, I just wanted to go back. I've just been reflecting on the questions and the nature of our conversation today, and I'm just really energized by the look ahead for 4-H. And hearing your questions and thinking about, especially my takeaway from today is thinking about the importance of the volunteers and the staff in our program. And in particular, the volunteers I know are on the minds of so many of our faculty. And I just want to acknowledge that I get it, that not just me, Lisa and I, we both get it, that this, the future of volunteerism is something we need to be thinking about. This is a serious issue. It is a challenge. It is something that in a very complex and changing world, that the models we've used in the past to impact kids are going to need to change. And I'm energized by hearing all the excitement. Doug, I know you're going to be moderating that and leading that webinar in a couple of weeks or next month. And I'm just thrilled to hear about some of the things that are going on at the local level. But I want to just ask and invite you that if you're working on some of the future thinking about volunteers in your county, in your program, in your state, and you want to make sure we hear about it, you're having any promising practices, will you please let us know? We want to be able to lift those opportunities up, tell your story, share your best practices with others, and there really isn't anything more important for the future of our program than ensuring those long-term relationships with caring adults can happen. And all of the innovation you're doing, we're very interested in. So Lisa and I would welcome if you could share with us those things you're working on. We would be most grateful and would love to lift those up into the future. So a big thanks from all of your partners and friends at National 4-H Council.
Well, that's a great way to wrap up the comments because 4-H volunteers is near and dear to my heart too. So you had me at the word volunteer, I guess. But this has been a wonderful opportunity. I want to personally thank Jennifer, and I want to personally thank Lisa for taking this opportunity, for responding to all the questions and answers we had this morning. I want to let you know that the whole session is being recorded from the opening presentation to the question and answer session. We will make sure, we did the best we could to make sure all the questions got answered, but they were flowing in pretty quick, and so if we find anything we didn't get responded to, we will find communications channels to answer those. And there was a suggestion about a Q&A document. We'll see. We hadn't necessarily discussed that, but it's maybe not a bad idea. And just reminding you before you click off, there's two things. Number one, I want you to make sure you found the resources link and had any opportunities for that. And then number two, I believe it's going to be down in your lower right-hand side. There is a widget for a short evaluation for today's opportunity. Upper left? Upper left. I was sending you in the wrong direction. I appreciate that. Upper left, there's a widget where you click on, and it'll take you outside of this program, and you'll answer a few responses, because our hope is to learn from you on how this went for you from your perspective, and then we can see how we can continue to make these opportunities available as the year moves forward. So with that, from National 4-H Council, from 4-H National Headquarters, from Washington, D.C., we thank you and we wish you a good day.